Hey everybody. I decided it was time to make a update to my Playbook utility video explanation since I've now been working on it for a little bit and we're up to version 2.2.2 if you actually care about the third one there. But I've been tweaking it over the last month, working with a buddy of mine who's been giving me some input and some suggestions. And I decided to finally release this latest update, but I wanted to make a video update explaining it as well. So we'll see how this works. I got the tutorial here. We'll go through the tutorial and I'll show you also exactly what's going on with this. So for starters, when you unpackage the files, you should have 5 files in your folder, wherever you decide to put it. It could be anywhere you decide to put it. The first one is default 06.pb. That's the default playbook. If you ever get rid of that by accident or delete it, you can always re-extract it from an ISO file that has the default. This is the actual Playbook Editor. This is the tutorial in PDF form. Clearly over here, I'm using Microsoft Word, but this will be the PDF form so you don't accidentally delete anything. You'll have this settings file, which is used just to make when the file loads, when the editor loads, it has some default stuff in there that'll make it a little bit easier for you to find files and whatnot. And then tdb access.dll. This is the file that actually has the functions in it that allow us to edit the database. I did not make this file. You can go to the link that's listed here in the Playbook Editor tutorial file to give you more information so you can see how that came to be and all of that. So those are the files, quick little introduction to file. Let's go ahead and open up the actual editor. So when you open up the editor, you have this here, and this will expand or shrink depending on what you're doing. But for starters, it's a blank screen. The first thing you want to do is export a playbook to edit it. And so if you want to do that, you click on this here, or you could click here. It does the exact same thing. I put it in 2 spots just because it'll drop down this here. We'll select an ISO. It's no different than any other open, save, file dialog screen. Brings this up. The one I want is on my desktop. This is my original ISO that I don't ever edit if I don't have to. And then that's just selecting the ISO. You do have some things you got to do to get these addresses. I now have these saved on mine. It's probably the same for everyone else's, but I am not sure if there's different versions of the ISO files out there. So what you want to do is open up this ISO also in a hex editor. I prefer this one. It's free. It works well. I've actually already done that. And it's open right here. But to show you what you're wanting to do, you will copy this string. You'll notice NCAA 07 is not currently supported. That's one of the things you can read about that in the change log. But you want to copy this string, put it here, and you're going to assume that you would just open this up. So you're going to be up here. You're going to search, find in this spot, hex values. You're just going to paste it right there. You're going to search in all directions and click search all. And it'll take about 10 seconds tops, close to about 5 seconds. And it's going to give you 2 different addresses or offsets. Those are the 2 you want to type in here. You can write those to the INI file. That way it's already there next time you load it up. And then we're going to export playbook from the ISO. It's going to ask where you want to save it. I'm going to save it here. Doesn't really matter. Already got it saved there. We're going to save that. There we go. It's now been saved. And that's exporting the playbook. Pretty straightforward. you could always just make a copy of the default one that came with the tutorial and the whole files also, or with the editor also. But once you get the hang of doing that, it's really not too bad. I would recommend at some point reading through just this so you understand what we can do and what we can't do as far as the way the playbook is designed. Try to spend a little bit of time explaining that. But let's get into the reason why you're here, which is how do you actually use this utility? So we're going to open up this playbook that we just created. It's going to go through a whole bunch of things, and it's going to show you, here it is. Okay. It always lists the formations in alphabetical order. It's just the easiest way for it to do it. The sets are in alphabetical order as well, but the plays are in the order in which they appear in the game. So when you're playing the game, this would be the first play on the left. This would be the middle play, the right play. And then if you were to go down, this would be the left play, middle play, right play, so on and so forth. But it shows you all the offensive formations, all of the sets from that formation, and plays. It's pretty straightforward. We'll get to some options in a little bit, but you could show some other top possible formations as well. This is going to be your editable side. This is whatever you change here and save. That's what's going to go into your playbook. The stuff over here is what is the default or whatever you loaded. Right now, my loaded playbook is still basically the default, so there's not going to be much change there. But this will have the stuff that you are pulling information from. So we'll talk about that in a little bit too. So like I say here, formations, set, and play are pretty self-explanatory. It's not going to be a perfect diagram from all plays. All hooks actually turns out to look pretty good. This is, you can see over here, this is the default from the game. This one actually turned out all right. Not all of them do. Some of the running plays especially can be a little, oops, what am I doing here? Dive is pretty good. Counter actually looks like it's all right. Draw play, it's not quite as obvious what's going on here. It didn't really do a good job with my arrow here. It's pulling the information from the database and trying to draw it as it loads. So it's not always going to be perfect. It does help to have a pretty good extensive knowledge of the actual playbook. And so I referenced this website here, playbookgamer.com. We'll click there. Oh, no, it won't let me do that right now, probably because I'm screen sharing. But if you go there, you can see a lot of information about the plays and playbooks. He's spent a ton of time talking about NCAA 06 and 07, really all the NCAA video games. You'll find a lot of cool knowledge there. So let's get into some of the things we can actually edit. For starters, the reorder button will show you the plays as they would appear in the playbook. Again, these will be all your plays that are on the left as you scroll down, all the ones in the middle, all the ones on the right. Some people have a preference about how they like their plays to show up. So for example, some people like all their left hash plays to be on the left side of their play calling screen, and all their right hash plays to be on the right side, and probably plays in between the hashes in the middle. So let's say you're like that and you're a person who likes to have all hooks called when you're on the right hash. You would just click it and drag it, and it'll just swap places with wherever you put it. And now this would be on this side of the playbook when you load it up in the game. So our all hook is now there. It auto saves that. So when you close it, you don't have to click save or anything. And actually it won't load up this way until you reset it, unfortunately, but that's okay. And so now it is the third play in the playbook. It's there, all hooks, pretty straightforward. Let's say that now I want to rename this play. I'm going to create a new play, and I'm going to call this play, it's just going to be called random. And so now we have ace, 4 wide receiver trips, random. That's going to be my play I'm going to create. We'll show you how that looks momentarily. And so when I do that, it's pretty straightforward. I could reset the set name as well. Right now, there is no option to change the formation because the playbook itself needs the play formations to be named appropriately for it to load properly in a game sometimes. Some formations can be renamed, but for now, I didn't want to go through the hassle of changing what could and couldn't be. I just not going to let you change the formations. I'll work on that in the future. And that's, the simplest thing. Replacing the routes on the left and the route on the right. This was what the original intent was always going to be. It was just to change play route, and that's it, and let it be what it's going to be. So for my random, though, I did add a lot more options, but let's just pick some play routes. Let's say I want this wide receiver to run this route. I just make sure they're both selected. Click it. Now he's going to run that route. And let's say I want just picking random things here. I want this wide receiver to run this route. Now he's going to do that. And I'm going to go, let's say I want this guy to run that route. And I want, let's say, I'm just trying to find something. There we go. We'll use this guy to do this route. And I'll keep the halfback the same. Why not? That's my new play. Did all that. Fantastic. So when I save the playbook and put this back into the ISO, this will be the play. That will be ace, 4 wide receiver, random will be the name of that play. And that was really going to be the extent of all this playbook editor was going to be. But through talking to my buddy, actually the person who does this, been spending a lot of time talking to him, Al, you'll get to know him pretty well if you watch any of his videos. Great personality. But he was going through explaining certain things that didn't quite work right with the plays just by editing the routes. So we had to add a lot more options, and we'll get to those in a second. Let's just talk about these other 2 blue options and go down here to curl read so I don't mess up my play I just made. I've allowed the option, just because why not, to replace all the routes with the selected route. It's dumb. There is absolutely no purpose to ever really do this. But if you're wanting to just mess around and see, you'll see what I mean. Your quarterback will ultimately try to run the ball probably on a play like this, as opposed to actually try to pass it. And all of your linemen will run up. They will do what you tell them to do, even if it doesn't make sense. Kind of dumb, but it's funny. And then also the option to replace all routes with all routes means it'll take the positions here that correspond to the positions here and try to add all of those same routes. So here we have an actual 4 wide receiver set. They're a little bunched up, a little tight set here, halfback in the back. We still have 4 wide receivers here as well. And it will take the positions and give them the same routes. Now you'll notice it's not giving wide receiver 1 the same position, because that's not actually how the game reads positions. The game reads positions by a tag 0 through 10, and it assigns a position to those tags. It turns out that here, whatever tag wide receiver 1 is the same tag that wide receiver 3 is on this set. So it's going to add it that way. It's not going to be a perfect lineup like this, although it is very close representation of the general left to right reading of the routes. Just an option again if somebody was wanting to do that. Every change you make is auto saved in here. It's not saved into your playbook until you click save, but it is auto saved, so you don't have to worry about clicking save after every single play. That would be a little obnoxious. So that's your replace all routes with all routes. Kind of weird. Big reminder I put here is that just because something looks like a receiving route does not actually mean it is a receiving route. Really comes into play more if you're loading up like defensive formations over here and trying to put them into here. Some things look like receiving routes, but they're actually like blitzing routes and other things. Just be aware of that. It really helps to have a good working understanding of your general playbook anyway. Going to that site I mentioned will help. Just playing the game for years will help. Loading up the game while you're doing this will help. It's very helpful. Okay, so we also have the option to make a position an eligible receiver, even if it's not. So for example, I can do this. I can make this person an eligible receiver. He is not currently, he's actually running a receiving route, but if you were to run the play as is, he would not actually be an eligible receiver. He's just running the route. We can make him an eligible receiver by clicking that, and he will now have the L1 tag and be an eligible receiver. And let's say I don't want this guy to be one, I can remove that possibility. But it's really kind of depends on the play. Sometimes I'm going to see if I can find an example here. I don't know how easy this will be. Okay, can I do, if I make, I didn't do the option. Okay, sometimes you will have a warning saying that there is no default receiver for this person. You may do it, but it might cause an error. Actually, here's where this will happen. Is if I go, let's go back to my random play again. So I'm going to remove this person from being a receiver eligibility. But I want to add, yeah, that person. It'll tell you there is no default receiver information found. Should you continue by clicking yes, he will select a previously eligible receiver slot to replace. It's going to take this person's place and give it to that. So he will now have the L1 tag. And you'll notice that it puts the icon way over here. I have not yet added the ability to edit icons yet. I will get to that, but it's basing it off of the previous one where, because this route came all the way over here, the tag was over here. Now it wants to put it over there. We can then actually give this person a receiving route. Let's have him run a sort of streak as well. And he will be an eligible receiver. He will not. He will try to block and then run a route. We don't want that guy to do that. Let's have him come out and do pass block instead. Going to be completely pointless. This quarterback is going to have to roll to the right to probably have any chance to get the pass off, but I'll show you in a bit how that all looks. He is now the L1 receiver. And so I think that pretty much makes sense. You can only add eligibility to passing plays. You cannot have more than 5 receivers. The database doesn't allow it. And you can't have less than 0 receivers. You can make a passing play with 0 receivers. The game won't like it, and the quarterback's going to be confused, and it's just going to try to run. It basically turns into a QB running play. It's not very successful most of the time. The reset options reset it exactly the way it says. It'll reset the current play from the default, reset the current play from the loaded. It'll reset all plays from the default or reset all plays from loaded. I don't want to do that because I've already kind of edited some plays here. Okay, so here's where I started adding more options where I was not aware more options were needed. Turns out that just giving a play some new routes kind of made the play run a little funky or wonky depending on the type of play. So for example, if I wanted to turn this into a play action play, I can add play action routes and stuff from other play actions, and it'll all look great, and the game will load and everything will be fine. But it turns out it runs a little weird because there's actually another table or another field inside the play data that is called PLYT. I assume that means play type. Turns out there are many play type options. And you really do want to try to set your play type to the type of play you're running. It'll make it run way better in the game, both for your sake and just for realism's sake. So if I did change this to a play action pass, I would want to set this to a play action pass. And then here I would want to click the actual update play type button. This is just a standard pass, so I'm going to leave it the same. It's the same with your running plays. If it's a standard run, just keep it as a standard run. Your counters, you usually want to set it as a counter. I've run across a couple default plays where counter is not selected. I don't know why. Draw plays, make draw plays, toss, reverse, option run. QB runs that are not draws, you want to select that. Pretty straightforward. The biggest difference with running plays is you also want to update what hole the play is designed to run through. Okay, and generally, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but you can show the holes here too. This is hole 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 and 5 are your off tackle plays. 6 and 7 are more of your even further outside of off tackle plays. 9 and 10 tend to be your option, or 8 and 9, I'm sorry, tend to be your options. They can some toss plays too. I can't find a toss play in this set, it's all right, but you'll notice that 8 is to the right. If you have an option play to the left, it would be 9. Setting those holes correct will make the defense react correctly. You can use it to cheese the computer, but that's not really the point of this utility. It is to create new plays that are realistic, and the game will run realistically. I'll go back to my random play here. And so that's how those work. That's some new stuff that I had added recently that has helped make the plays a lot better. All right, so let's look at our options. First option is route arrows. For different people, the arrows draw a little weirder. I don't know why. I'm not the world's greatest programmer. We'll actually talk about that in a second. Looks great on my screen, but I've seen some screenshots of a couple other people where the arrows are huge and they're down a few pixels and it's all kind of weird. So I did give the option to turn those off if those are just getting in the way. The default is set to on, but if that's what's kind of making it look weird and making it odd, you could turn them off. It really doesn't add any functionality to have them, doesn't take any way to turn them off. I like them on mine because, again, it looks good. Next option is RTL routes. This is the option where instead of having just the formations, you can actually just load up all the RTL routes. Now, I'll give you a warning that as you go to ARTL, sorry, 0000, the main one, there are about 100 different P cells that use this particular ARTL, so it takes a second to load, so be a little careful. This is showing you just your art formation, your art route arrows from the play selection screen. Well, this is your most basic because it has nothing, and most of your actual plays have people that have no actual art with them. If you're in man coverage, a lot of times it'll just be no arrows. If your quarterback always has no art, unless if it's got a running play or some sort of rollout thing. But a lot of times it's no art play. The P cell will actually tell you the different plays that this particular one is using, because then I could use this to select over here. I'll discuss P cells in a second. We can come back and look at this momentarily. Whoops, just clicked again. But you can see as you cycle through it, it shows you all the different art things without any play associated with it. So, and here's where you want to be careful that, like, you don't just assume this is a receiving route. Oh, maybe it's a receiving route. It's probably not. This looks more like a running route. But even some stuff that could be perceived as a running route, I mean, as a receiving route, okay, that's likely a receiving route, but it might not be. And I'll tell you how you can tell momentarily. So just be careful to not just throw things over here that look like receiving routes without knowing what they are. Show holes we talked about already. Now it'll show the holes over here so you can tell if where the hole is designed. Sometimes the running route actually shows you, sometimes not. All formations, be careful using this option. It's there, but all formations adds every single formation to the right side of your screen, even if they're weird ones. There's some odd, do I have that there? Option attack, for example. I don't know what option attack is. That's not an actual play that formation you can select in the game, but it's got some plays associated with it. And so there are routes and stuff associated with it too that you can bring over to this side. it also shows all of your defensive formations over on this side that you can actually select in the game. Doesn't give you special teams over here because those are weird, and editing those can really have disastrous effects to your actual playing experience. But there is the option to edit defensive plays too. Again, this is not the point of this editor yet. I'll work a little bit more on the defense in the future. In fact, you can even see some of the weird options don't show up right because I haven't even formatted it correctly to recognize that ROLB has so many letters in it. So it puts the position down. You can't see the art information below it. But you could certainly replace my right outside linebacker for 4-4 all out blitz with a run blocking, play for some reason. Now it will at default like do that for an instant before then, if it is like a running play, it will try to go after the ball carrier. It'll do weird things. It will update it and do exactly what you tell it to do, but it's not designed for that. So, the playbook editor will be what you let it be, if that makes sense. If you want it to be dumb and cheese the computer, then by all means be dumb and cheese the computer. It's your game. You have fun however you want to have fun. Show P-cells tables. This will bring up something below here. You can pull that away if necessary. It just loads right below the screen wherever you're at. This will actually show you what each play is doing. This works very well in conjunction with that RTL routes here, so that when you are going through this, you can see what each of those are doing. So this one, without any play art, is moving 4.1 yards at a 270-degree angle at 100% speed, and then dropping back looking to pass. Well, 270 degrees is actually straight down, which makes sense. This is just a drop back quarterback looking to pass thing. So that's what that one's doing. There's no play art associated with it. This one, though, is spiking the ball. So if you were to replace the quarterback here accidentally with this, thinking that it's just a regular quarterback play, he's going to spike the ball. So, that's where it helps to be careful. This will be a fake spike of the ball. And then as you go through, we were talking about some of these looking like receiving routes. You'll know if they're receiving routes because it'll tell you, all right, where did I get this one? Scroll through the whole list. Okay. For example, this is not a receiving route. It's a running route. He's attempting to receive the handoff. Run to the end zone. You can tell when it's a receiving route. Scroll a little faster here, because the last thing it'll say is get open. And the last step for every play is always 255. It seems like a waste of space in the actual database for it to do that. It's just a generic code saying it's done with its P-cell table. It no longer has any more steps for it to do. But you can see that this is literally what's happening here. It's running a receiving route for 5 yards at 135 degrees. Remember, that's 90. This is 180. So this would be roughly 135. Attempt to receive, handoff, run for 6 yards at 120 degrees, blah, 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 blah. So this is actually a what appears to be a play action, the running backs part of the play action pass. So it's all there. It's all there. Okay, some other things I'm pretty excited about. I'm going to turn these options off just so that they're not cluttering. I don't care about the show one. I don't care about this. Okay, so I go back to my random play I've created. A couple things that I've also added is the ability to right click. I am right clicking now on this position. I can change this position to anybody I want. Now, if it's in red, that means they're already in it. It'll still let you select it. And then when you load up the play, it's going to try to do, it's going to have an argument between LT1 and LT2. Your left tackle here and here one of them will take priority. I don't know which one, but generally speaking, you won't set it that way. When you make these changes, they are for the set, not for just this play. So let's say, because I'm changing this into a receiving route, I want to change this guy to my halfback one, and I want to change this guy to my left tackle one. Now, the thing is, it's there for all plays. So great for this play, that might be fantastic, which is not a normal play. It's not even a legal play. You would never normally run this play. But I'll show you that it will work in a moment here. But for, let's say, this play, I probably don't really want my left tackle running an angle route out of the backfield and having my, main halfback being a left tackle. That's not a good recipe for a good play, but it will do it for all sets, and it's there for you. It's an option mainly for your your actual skill player positions, but it allows you to do it for all of them. It does not have to be the selected player, by the way. It could be any player that you can do this on. And then I did add some quick routes also. So it's not a bunch. There's more I want to add, but I went through and searched through the entire art table and P-cell table and found the ones that will allow you to have basic plays. Like if I want to do instead of this kind of angled route here, let's say I want to have this guy just run a 45-degree post play. So he'll come to the right here and run 10-yard. It adds that. And that is now what he's doing. In fact, you can tell if you look at the P-cell table, he is now running 10 yards, make a 45-degree cut to the right, run a receiving route for 25 yards. He's going to get open. And that's what that does. It's just options. There's more to add. And I'm looking at possibly adding the option in the future for the settings file to allow you to set some default ones to, like if you right click, change route, it'll add like custom underneath street, and you'll be able to name your own there also and set some values to it. But those are all the options that I've added to it, and it's pretty cool. So we're going to save this. You can save it as something else if you want. I'm just going to overwrite mine. So I've saved it. Great. And then we're going to import it back in. So I'm going to select a different ISO. I don't want to override my initial. Select ISO. I already have one that's called Playbook Edit. We're going to use that one instead. All the values are the same. I'm going to import a playbook into that, the playbook that I just created. And it'll tell me that it did it successfully. That is fantastic. I'm glad it did that. We're going to set something up here real quick. I forgot to plug my controller in. Okay. And we're going to hope that this worked. I'm going to go to this. Make sure I have the right one. Select that. Okay. Not sure if you can hear. I have it muted, but it might be recording the sound, and I apologize. We're going to just speed up the process here. Get this. And if there is no sound, I apologize for that too. It's kind of wonky to listen to it without a sound. Okay, apparently doesn't think I've done that. Okay. Let me just check to make sure that I have this playbook in my, okay, I don't. So we're going to just go, it doesn't matter, Air Force. Okay. I'm going to add ace for wide receiver trips. And that's perfect. We'll save that. And we'll go to practice. Put that up too. And right away, you'll notice that there's my halfback playing left tackle. There's my left tackle playing halfback. That's fantastic. There's my play I created, random. It is now on the right side. If you remember, we moved it over there. And I also have my plays. As you can see, I had my square going over here. My L1 is running a semi sort of streak here. And remember what I told you about the icon? It's way over to the left. I will work on that in the future. And then all the plays, long story short, you can see they're there. Let's select that play. I'll just pick a random defensive play. Now, when you come out, you do notice that the icons are always just over the people. So on the play screen itself, the icons look fine. But this is going to be a disaster of a play. I'm actually going to just let the computer run this play and see what it does. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. So that wasn't even, that was the left guard that got beat there. I didn't see what happened there. Okay. Oh, what is going on here? No, that was the left tackle. Okay, so I'm watching, something's happening over here, and I'm not seeing it. Oh, he got the pass off. There we go. How about that? But anyway, you could see it's a dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb. You don't have your left tackle run a route. Can you? Yes, but don't do it. Let's just choose a new play from the same formation where, and I apologize that part of my screen's kind of cut off here. I know that's the way I've got this video set up. But let's pick a different play from there where now at least the left tackle will try to block. Let's find one though where my where the halfback will try to block. But let's find one. That's odd. Is this guy not eligible to receive because I changed the position? Maybe this is something interesting we're about to find out. Okay, he should be. It's a weird play art thing. I'll have to look into that. That's odd. It looked like he wasn't eligible to receive. He should be eligible to receive. Again, doesn't mean he's going to catch anything or even be, yeah, excellent hands there, buddy. Bush is doing all right as a left tackle. He is as a, oh gosh, okay. Anyway, that's enough of that. I'm not very good at the game, but you get the idea. So that works. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing a little bit about how this works. I did list in here too at the end just a couple issues that I know exist. There's one clear one here. I'm just going to change this route to so I can get it out of the way real quick. Well, and you get to see an error. I actually don't know what that error means. I will try to duplicate that. See what happens. It appears that it worked right. That's odd. But you'll notice that left arrows, if a guy is running a 180-degree route to end his route, it will not display the arrow going to the left. Instead, it'll make it point to the right. I don't know why it's doing that. I've been trying to fix that for a month and I can't figure it out. The other one is that my pass blocking hash marks don't show up right. I actually do know why it's doing that, but I just haven't fixed that yet. Anyway, that's basically it. Feel free to leave any comments below if you have any questions. I don't always see the questions, and I do apologize, but I try to answer them as people ask them. Hope you guys are having a good day. Enjoy your long weekend if you get Monday off. Have a good one.